Hey guys, we're going to be taking a look at the 2020 Ford EcoSport. This is the SE trim level of the vehicle, 123 horsepower, 125 foot-pounds of torque, 1,400 pound towing capacity. It's the smaller engine of the two. It's the 1-liter turbo engine, Ford's EcoBoost engine. Let's take a quick look. Let's start off taking a look at the key fob here. This is going to come standard across the EcoSport models. We've got the unlock button, lock, and then the panic or the alarm button in order to be able to find your vehicle here. Now if you notice, there's no spot here for the remote start. Remote start is available on the vehicle if we do it aftermarket. That can be done from the factory or from the dealer. Now if we look here, there is a spot for an emergency access key as well. Just going to press the button here and pull. So if you ever lock yourself out of the vehicle, you can access it here. One other thing you're going to notice is going to be the liftgate here, something that's a little bit unique on the EcoSport compared to the Ford lineup. Traditionally, we'd be reaching under here in order to lift up the tailgate. EcoSport is slightly different. Off to the right-hand side here, you'll see a button. Push the button. And just like that, the door swings out to the side. Next up, what we're going to do is figure out how to fold these back seats down. Pretty straightforward. Two things in order to do that. There's a button off to the right-hand side on the passenger side to fold the headrest down. Same thing on the left-hand side here. Press the button, and that's going to lower that headrest as well. Now I want to show you where these buttons are. Let's take a look here. And just off to the left-hand side here. But looking at the seats here, the EcoSport is a 60-40 split. Left side is 60, right side is 40% of the back seat there. To lower the seat, you're going to simply press the button here, and then just push it forward, and there we go. Let's do the same thing on the passenger side. Button press and push. As you can see here, we're almost flat, but there's a little bit of a hump right in the middle there. So one of the nice things about the EcoSport is that Ford's done something slightly different with the tray in the back. So if you want to have a little bit more of a flat back, all we're going to do is take this tray out, and then we're going to set it up on one of the available guides in the back here. Push down, and look at that. We've got a flat back here. So it's fairly flat, but if you want a little bit more space and if you truly need a little bit more flat, this is what we can do. So we've got the seats that are flat down here, but in order to get it a little bit flatter, let's lift that seat back up. Now there's a little tab in behind the seat here underneath. We're just going to crank that up here, and there we go. And then let's drop the seat back down again. Now look at the difference there. Driver's side versus passenger side. So it's a completely flat seat in the back here. Let's actually take a peek at the back seat. Alright, look at that difference between the driver's side and the passenger side. The left versus the right, it's huge. Taking a look underneath. Let's pull out the tray first just to see what's underneath here. Remove the tray completely, and let's take a look. Let's grab this tab here and pull. There we go. And let's just adjust the camera a little bit here and take a look. So as you can see, we've got an inflator kit. So you've got the actual air compressor here. This is just in case you need to use a jerry can. This is the little nozzle you put inside of the gas tank there. And then we've got our goop. Let's pull that out so you can take a look. There we go. Alright, now that's to do any sort of sealing on a tire that may have been partially punctured. Alright, so a couple things in order to be able to start this thing. As I'd mentioned, so there is no key. There's nowhere to put this key. What do you do with it? So the 2020 EcoSport is a push button start. So all we're going to do, engine start stop button there, make sure the brake is pressed. And then we're going to start it up there. So this is going to be the basic interface when the vehicle begins. So when you turn the vehicle on, this is what you're going to be met with. You've got your generic home button here. That's going to take you to this home screen here. Audio on off. So if you want to listen to the radio. So we can do manually tuning here.
240 on the Gardner. Like, that's not impressive. You're just compensating.
All right. So you've got your volume rocker here, I should say. There we go. Perfect. We go to the audio section here. We can search through a couple different ways. So we can do a search here for the sources, AM, FM, Sirius XM, etc. Back button there. We can tune if you want to manually tune something, or if you like a station and you want to be able to put it into your presets, you're going to switch to the station that you'd like. So we have tuned to 92.5. You're just going to press and hold until you hear a beep. There we go. Preset saved, and we're now at 92.5. Perfect. Now looking here, so phone. In order to be able to set up your cell phone, it is fairly simple to do that. So I'm going to show you right now how to be able to set up an iPhone. So in order to set up an iPhone, what we're going to do here is Bluetooth. Make sure Bluetooth is on. And we're going to add a phone.
Search for your vehicle on your device and select it once it is found.
Now we've got the Ford EcoSport. Just showing up here. Let's see if we can get it to focus on that. It might be a little bit dark here. So we're going to click on the Ford EcoSport
Confirm
here.
that the pin displayed on SIM
See the pin number
matches
here.
the pin displayed on your
Matches
device.
the pin number here. Yes, and pair.
For your
And
safety, please stay
don't allow
alert
for
to
now.
changing road conditions and using
Perfect.
voice
Pairing
activated
successful.
features while your vehicle is in
911
motion.
assist. And finish. There we go. So as you can see, my phone is now hooked up to the EcoSport. Now, it can do a couple things here. So if I wanted to call somebody, I could. It can go through my text messages, contacts, etc. Now, let's say if you wanted to delete the phone that was here, you'd simply go to Settings, Phone. You can view devices. And we've got my device, which is now hooked up here. If we wanted to get rid of that, click through here, disconnect or remove. Let's remove the phone. And there we go. Back to phone, back to add here. Now, this version of the EcoSport, it's the SE, but it does have the SE convenience package. What that means is that we've got this larger 8-inch touchscreen. If we didn't have the SE convenience package, this screen would not look anything like this whatsoever. But because it's got the SE convenience package, that means it also has built-in navigation now as well. That's a very, very nice feature to have. The apps, you can hook up Android Auto or Apple CarPlay to be able to use that directly through the vehicle here. Now, it's a kind of a neat feature to have as well too with some of the apps, because if you use the Waze app on your phone, you can project it directly onto the screen here. When we get into vehicle settings, we've got some basic sound settings, which are going to be the treble, mid-range, bass settings, etc. to change a few things there. Jumping back a screen here, we've got the clock settings. And clock settings, we're an hour off, so let's fix that. Oh, let's fix that here. Perfect. And difference between 24-hour mode versus your standard 12-hour. Auto time zone update. That's important because as you go through different time zones, it'll automatically update you based off of your time zone. Back here, Bluetooth, those are going to be our Bluetooth connected devices. Phones are going to be our phone connected devices. Radio is going to jump us into some of the radio settings here. 911 assist is going to be set up when we set our cell phone up. Navigation gives us some different preferences, so some map preferences, route preferences, etc. It's useful if you like to avoid toll roads, if you want to get rid of certain things as well. So there we go. So we can get rid of, go to the fastest route, use the HOV lanes, dynamic avoid tolls and freeways, etc. So if you want to make sure, if you're in Canada, you're on the 407, if you're in the States, on different paid roads there. Scrolling across here, we've got some general settings. That's going to be our language, temperature, measurement units. So if we're in the States, it would obviously be in miles if you're driving down to the States. That beep that we get as we go through here, we can turn that off if we want to, so we don't get the beep anymore. Automatic system updates, we're going to keep that on as well. Where that comes into play is that's going to update everything except for the maps here. So it's going to update the firmware, software, things like that on the vehicle when you're at home and connected to Wi-Fi. So on that note, in order to be able to do that, you're going to connect to Wi-Fi here and look at available networks, and it's going to show what available networks are here. And there we go. So we've got the guest account there. If you wanted to, obviously if you're at home, you'd select your Wi-Fi network and input your password there. Jumping back out again, so we've got a couple others. Ford Pass Connect, that works hand in hand with the built-in Ford modems if there is one in your vehicle. Vehicle, going to be a few basics. So we've got camera settings and the serial number as well. Jump back to display. Display off, that's going to turn this display off. Background, brightness, mode, auto dim is going to be for nighttime driving. So it'll turn the screen from the bright that it is right now into a darker setting. Voice control, fairly straightforward there. So advanced mode is an actually interesting one. So with advanced mode on, let's take a quick listen. Okay, so that's advanced mode on. With advanced mode off.
Please say a command.
All right, so please say a command. So by having the advanced mode on, we get rid of that initial message of what would you like to do. It just goes right into this is what we're doing. Phone confirmation is a good one to have on. So when you're calling somebody, it'll say, would you like to call this person? And then the commands list is this right here. So this right here is the command list. So until you get really used to having the voice commands, I would recommend keeping that on as well. Valet mode is a pretty interesting one. So with valet mode enabled, it essentially locks the screen out, because if you have your cell phone connected there, somebody that is looking at the vehicle, or let's say if you have the valet park the vehicle, they'd be able to look through your text messages and they could look through everything if they wanted to. But with valet mode enabled, let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. Very, very difficult password to guess. 1, 2, 3, 4. Done. Valet mode is locked. All right, so valet mode is enabled, so enter the PIN to unlock. So as you can see here, we can't click on anything until we enter in the 4-digit PIN number that we've created. So it's a very, very useful feature to have to lock people out of being able to use this dashboard here. And then last but not least is going to be ambient light. We are in the daytime, so we're unfortunately not going to be able to see any ambient light as of right now. And this is the basics of the screen here. We've got our volume rocker here. We've got our tuning rocker here. Change stations here. We've got our 4-way blinker here. Moving down a bit, we've got our rear defroster. We've got our max AC in the front. We've got our windshield wiper defroster. Everything. We've got the fans coming to our face, fans going to our feet. Circulate the air settings inside of the vehicle. AC is going to turn our air conditioning on. It's getting a little bit warm in here, so let's do that. Down a bit lower, we've got our seat warmers down here. So driver's side, 1, 2, 3, and off. Passenger side here as well. The button that you can just kind of make out here, let's swing you around a little bit to take a look. There we go. Okay, so this one right here is the auto start stop for the engine. So what that one will do is that will cut the engine power off if you're stopped at a light. And then TCS is going to be your traction control. Dropping down a little bit further, we've got our traditional 12-volt adapter. We've got a couple USB ports right up here. And then dropping into our stick here, we've got a couple options. We've got our park, reverse, neutral, drive, and then the sport mode, which gives you the ability to select what gear you're in, plus or minus while you're driving. It's a beneficial system to use, but nothing too crazy, so I wouldn't get too worked up over it. It's a 1-liter engine with 123 horsepower, so you don't expect too much out of it. All right, now one of the interesting things, so when we shift into reverse, so there is a backup camera enabled on this vehicle. If we take a look here, so backup camera is now on. If we shift into drive, quick shift over back. So again, shifting into reverse, 1, 2, and here we go. Now as you can see here, this one does have the backup sensors here. We can tell that that's the case just because of this little outline here. So what that means is that as we come up to an obstacle behind us, then those will beep and let us know that there's an obstacle there. Let's take a quick peek at the steering wheel here. So we're going to look at a couple things. This is going to be our generic back button. This is going to be the menu button. We've got up and down and OK. So let's see where that comes into play. So as we press the back button here, all right, so what we're going to do is press the up and down button here. And that's going to change the different view settings that you've got here. Settings, that's perfect. That's what we want. So we're going to press this button here. That'll jump us deeper into some settings. So we've got information, display, driver assistance, blind spot system. It's going to let us know if anybody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. It's going to give us a little indication light. Here, let's drop this window down. It's going to give us a little indicator here, letting us know if anybody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle. Cross traffic alert is an interesting one. If we're backing up and we don't recognize that there's a vehicle there, we will see something on the screen letting us know. Rear parking aid is that beeping that we're going to get as we come back to an obstacle. So if we're backing up and we don't see an obstacle there, pressing the back button here is going to take us back to the home screen here. We've got some different vehicle setting options here. Auto engine off, we can turn that off on a case-by-case basis. Chimes in the door, lighting, changing the lock settings here as well. Remote start if it's enabled. And then wipers as well too. So courtesy wipe and then the reverse wiper. Reverse wiper is the wiper for the back here. Courtesy wipe, when the vehicle first starts up, then it'll give you one wipe. I don't recommend keeping that one on, there's no point. And back, okay, and my key. My key is going to give you the ability to set up certain features and functions. So let's say if you didn't want people to be able to start the vehicle or drive the vehicle, I should say, until the seatbelt is on, you could have that. You can set it so that it can only go up to a certain speed as well. It is a very interesting feature to use. And we're going to go back one more, and then we've got our trip odometer here. Now in order to be able to reset the odometer, we're simply going to press and hold the OK button. And that's going to reset all of our values here. Perfect. And let's drop back down to the steering wheel for a second here. And we've got our cruise control settings here. So in order to turn cruise control on when you're driving, you're simply going to press the on button and then set it at the speed that you'd like. As you're driving, if you don't want it anymore, you're going to press off. If you want to adjust it 1 kilometer at a time, or 1 mile per hour, depending on where you are at a time. Over on the other side of the steering wheel here, we've got these rockers here. If we're listening to the radio, that's going to change the radio station. If we're listening to a CD or an MP3 player, it's going to change the song. We've got our voice rocker, our volume rockers up and down here. And then we've got our voice command button here. Now that can do a couple different things. You can change the radio station using your voice. You can also change, you can do navigation using your voice as well. Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do is take a look at a couple of these settings here. We've got our setting for fog lights. And if we look here, we're on the A lamp. That means that our lamps are going to come on automatically as necessary. We've got our regular lights there as well, and then we've got the lights off. These two little guys off to the side here are going to be the dimmer switches. And then if we need to adjust the steering wheel, fun time, let's take this thing for a spin. .0 turbo engine. This thing is going to be interesting. All right. Oh. All right. And here we go. For a 1.0 turbo engine, I guess it's doing all right. I'm just going to take it on the highway quickly, just between Brock and Thixon, I think, just to see how it'll go. Well, it handles surprisingly smooth. The ride is actually not too shabby. For like a basic starter car, or if you just need something to get you from A to B, this may not actually be a bad choice for you. Not too shabby. No. I guess I'm saying not too shabby now. Let's see how it is as I attempt to get on the highway. This is probably not going to be good. A 1-liter engine. Oh, at least it's a turbo. All right, let's wait for this guy to get out of the way as well. And here we go. All right. It's not bad. I'm only going 60 though, so let's see how it is in a minute. Let's get some background tunes going as we go. This probably isn't licensed. No, I shouldn't do that. This isn't going to be licensed at all, so. Alright. Speaking of which, that could be cool. If anybody wants to send me some of their music to play in the background in these videos, that'd be cool to do. Just a heads up, this is a new channel, so I have zero budget right now. It's surprisingly quiet. Like, I'm very, very surprised right now. So this thing's got an 8.4 combined fuel economy rating, which isn't bad for a 1-liter engine. Like, it's not bad. Could be better. But the test is going to be on the highway. Let's see how this thing goes. Really quiet. Wow, I am genuinely surprised that this thing is this quiet. It handles, the suspension on it is really, it's good. Now granted, it's a new vehicle, but still, for what it is, the price point this thing is at, this isn't too shabby at all. But again, let's just wait for that highway test and see what it's going to be like when I open it up to get on the highway up to highway speeds. That'll be the true test. Now this thing is comfortable. One thing that I forgot to mention, this thing does have a sunroof. Oh, here we go. Up to speed test. No, this isn't the highway yet. Oh, I love that blind spot indicator. It's one thing about vehicles that are equipped with this. Like, one thing that I love that Ford's done is they've included the blind spot indicators in the majority of vehicles now, and I think it's such a smart move on their part because it's such a simple system, but it works so incredibly well. Almost. Right. And we are coming up to the highway test. Oh! All right. All right, here we go. Let this guy in front of me go for a minute. We go a little bit slower on this bend, and then I'm just going to open her up and let's see how she does. So it was a 1-liter turbo engine, 123 horses. Let's get those ponies purring. All right, ready? 3, 2, and here we go. My foot is down. My foot is literally down right now. That's not too bad. All right, all right. So we got it to highway speed right now. Okay, there we go. That's not bad. So at a highway speed, merged okay. It fought a little bit. My foot literally was down though, but it was able to make it. I made it safely. So I'm not going to complain. You know what? For a 1-liter engine, if you don't need a lot of pep for the car, this thing is a pretty damn good option. The AC is blowing nice and cold on my hands right now as well, which is great. Foot down. Foot down to kick that turbo in. It's not bad. It's not super responsive. Like, if you want to pass somebody, it's going to take you, 30 seconds to do it. But again, if you're looking for a basic commuter vehicle and you're not the type of driver to have a lead foot, I think this thing is a pretty good option. Throttle response is okay. Again, like, it's a 1-liter engine. Like, don't expect to get behind the wheel of this thing and, be able to race people Tokyo Drift style, because that's just not going to happen. Not too shabby, though. It's and the seats are, like, they're small, they're narrow, so, like, they're perfect for people that are, like, me size. So if you're not, like, so realistically, like, if you're, like, I'm a size 32 waist, I'm 175 pounds, like, and the seat it's comfortable for somebody my size. Realistically, if you were, let's say, 250 pounds, 300 pounds, like, you would find these seats very, very uncomfortable, I think. But if you're a little bit smaller, your needs aren't that great for a vehicle, it's an option for you. Oh, there's that new car smell. Whew. All right. Not too shabby. Smell some bacon. Alright, so still, this thing is nice and quiet. It's handling really, really well. Spot indicators going. There's somebody in my blind spot here, and I need to get over. Not letting me in. This is a review video, and I'm like, oh. Just gonna edit that out. That'll just be a nice little crossfade. Overall impressions, though, this thing is not too shabby. Let's stop completely. Okay, that engine start-stop didn't kick in yet. I haven't really come to a full and complete... Well, that's a lie. I've come to a complete stop right there, but not long enough for it to trigger the auto start-stop. It's an interesting feature. What it does is it cuts the power to the engine for a set period of time. See if I can trigger it up at the stop sign that's coming up here. So the kicker, I guess, without auto start stop is it doesn't stop all the time. And there's a couple reasons why it might not stop. One of the big reasons is that it may just not need to. If the vehicle is if you're driving the vehicle and you're driving low on fuel, why is this guy doing this? What you doing, Willis? That's weird. People are weird. Here we go. Oh yeah, the auto start stop. So it doesn't stop all the time. And that's the thing with the auto start stop feature, is it's not an all the time thing. It's an occasional thing. When you're stopped at a light, it may happen. We're about to find out in the next few seconds if it's going to stop at this light for me here. Let's see. Brakes on, auto start stops engaged, and it's still not going. Like, the engine is still on right now. The auto start stop still isn't gone, and the vehicle is up to temperature. So I'm just going to turn the AC off for a second. Let's just completely shut that off and see what happens. Well, same thing, it's still not activating. So again, like, it does happen sporadically. It's not guaranteed to come on every time. Here we go. Let's get that beeping going. There we go. So hear that? There we go. So, overall impression of the vehicle, for a 1-liter turbo engine, it's not too shabby. The starting MSRP on this thing is around $28,000. You can get an all-wheel drive, you can get a front-wheel drive variety.